Hello again everybody, this is Gusto, and I have a collection of Canadian survival rations that I'm going to start reviewing today. These were generously sent to me by Steve1989. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to review these kind of in a comparative nature, starting with the oldest and then moving forward. And what he has sent me is this one being the oldest. This is a 1945 food container survival ration. Also have a Royal Canadian Air Force survival ration, and this is usually in a pilot seat pack. And then a more modern Canadian Forces survival ration from 2008. And all of these contain concentrated food items and are intended to be eaten very slowly over time in a survival situation. And what I'm going to do is review these in series. Today I'll review the oldest from 1945, and then in a series of reviews I'll review the other two. And I'm planning on releasing these in a pretty short amount of time so that we can really be able to compare them as the survival ration evolved through time. So first of all, thank you very much to Steve1989 for sending these to me. So let's take a look at this container. This is labeled food container. It contains 12 biscuit rations, 2 chocolate rations, and 12 milk chocolate tablets. This is a concentrated food, should be eaten slowly. And then there's the production information there. If you look on the back here, there is the key to open the Spam can style container and a production date of 1945. And there's some clues that really authenticate this thing. Certainly the production date and the key. But also, if you look at the construction of the can, you can see that the way that it's sealed is by solder along the edges. So that really dates this piece as far as sealing techniques. So you can see the line of solder there along the edge. You can see that the tin container is covered in a thin yellow varnish. It's kind of flaky in spots, but overall this item is intact. It doesn't feel swollen or puffed or anything like that, which is a good sign with these older rations that no anaerobic breakdown of the products inside is going on. Usually that makes the product swell. And if you see through my other videos, the D-ration chocolate that was produced about the same time in the United States, it was also very concentrated, very calorie dense, and intended to be eaten slowly, and that's a common feature of survival rations. So let's take the key off, open it up, and see how the contents look. So this just bends up and breaks off. There's the tab, and we'll just kind of pry that up with the end and thread it through there. And we'll just wind the strip over the key. The contents are still under a decent vacuum. That's a good sign. There's no foul smell coming off of this. There's a little bit of a sweet scent coming out of here. Let's open this up and see what the contents look like. Everything looks pretty clean in there. That's good. First out of the package is the chocolate tablets, and again this shows a concentrated food, should be eaten slowly. There's the production information. There are 2 of those in there, but we'll get to the second one in a second. There's a package of biscuits. And there again are a dozen of these in here. There's the other roll of chocolate tablets. And then there's 2 chocolate rations in there, 2 separate chocolate bars. A little bit sticky on the surface, kind of waxy. And you see these are denoted Lifeboat and Raft rations, and this is probably because they are fairly heat stable for being chocolate. So there's probably additives in there, probably similar to the United States tropical chocolate, but we'll see when we get it open. The concentrated chocolate tablets are probably very high calorie for their size, probably somewhat similar to the United States D-ration type chocolate. I'm going to start by opening the chocolate tablets. Again, these are the concentrated food tablets. There should be 6 in each one of these. Again, there were listed 12 of them on the container. This is just kind of a thin brown paper. It's not wax paper or anything like that, just paper. Oh, there you go. I dropped one, but But there it is. And if you look at them, they look a little bit grainy. There's more to them than chocolate for sure. And it looks kind of like a fibrous material in there with some flecks of chocolate. So they're certainly not all chocolate, but more of a comprehensive, high energy, long lasting ration. There are 2 rolls of that, of course. There's also 2 bars of chocolate, the Lifeboat and Raft ration. We'll open one of those as well. And these are a little bit waxy on the surface. You can read there on the back, this chocolate will soften when the heat is excessive, and on cooling down it may have a white surface. And as we've seen with a lot of chocolate rations, there is some surface blooming that happens with these. You can see that they're produced by the Fried Cadbury company there in Montreal. We'll go ahead and open this up. Under the paper, a foil and wax paper laminate covering. Turn that out. It does have a little bit of a grainy surface blooming there. Can you see it up close? But overall, it doesn't look too bad. It is kind of hard and dry feeling. It actually has kind of a sweet smell. I would have expected it to have a little bit more sourness to it, but it doesn't smell bad. It actually has a little bit of a chocolate scent. Not bad. And then lastly, the ration Biscuits. Again, there's kind of a wax paper covering there. It's a little bit sticky. And the same foil wax paper covering on the biscuits. Now, biscuits that are designed to be high energy usually will have a lot of fats in them, so that kind of gives them the possibility of becoming rancid as the oils oxidize with time. So I would not be surprised if these do have some rancidity to them. They do have a little bit of a sour scent to them. Not really sure how to describe that scent. I've really never smelled anything like it before. There's almost a little bit of a sweetness to it, but also sour as well. You see they come bound in some wax paper there inside, and there's a dozen of them. And that's it for this survival ration. The contents look to be fairly well preserved, so I think we'll go ahead and try these items. Before I start eating these, I will say that MRE Mountain does have a supply of these, a very limited supply of this ration particularly. If you're interested in getting one of these, MREmountain.com. So let's start off with the Tablett Ration. Again, if we take a look at these up close, you can see that there's some kind of grain to them. These were most likely in powder form before being pressed into these little pucks. They're very hard. These are listed as milk chocolate tablets. They don't have a very strong scent to them at all. Maybe just a little bit of a sour chocolate scent. Let's take a bite and see. And they are very hard and dry. Almost as hard as the D ration bar. They're not sweet at all. They're very grainy. There you can see in cross section one of the pieces. Again, very, very dense. And they do have a little bit of sourness on the aftertaste, but the chocolate flavor is very subtle, and there's more of a kind of grainy consistency more than anything to them. Interesting. Those would be very difficult to eat fast. They're really hard to bite, and they do take a little bit of time to chew up and then rehydrate so that you can actually swallow them. So very well designed for being a slowly eaten food. Be very well suited for survival situations. For the chocolate bar, the Life Raft ration, again you can see kind of some surface blooming on there, but overall the chocolate bar kind of certainly retains its own substance. It's not swollen or puffed. There's not a whole lot of blooming or oxidation there on the surface. Let's break it apart and see what it looks like inside. And it does have a similar appearance to the fudge bars that you'll find in some of the older rations. It has kind of a sour sweet scent to it as well. Actually smells more like chocolate than I would have guessed for a ration of this age. And this thing is 72 years old, so there's significant age to this. Give that a taste. First taste is very sweet. It does have a decently chocolatey flavor. It's dry, and there's not a severe degree of rancidity to it. The flavor is really similar to a cocoa beverage powder made to be in solid form. This thing is extremely well preserved, and it has a surprisingly not so bad flavor. Yeah, there's a lot of sugar in it. Again, these survival chocolates are made to be fairly heat stable and resilient to conditions. So I think this is a remarkably well surviving example of this ration. Not bad at all. And lastly, moving on to the biscuits. Take a look at these things. They're pretty dense. They have a little bit of a weird scent to them. I can't really figure out how to describe it. And there's a little bit of a sourness scent to it, and I kind of want to describe it as like an old gingerbread or something like that. Kind of looks like that too. They're about 1/8 of an inch thick. They're quite dry and hard, but they break fairly easily and actually have a little bit of crispiness left to them. Again, that's probably owing to the very well stored conditions of this ration. We'll take a taste. And these, as far as describing the flavor of these, the flavor is very subtle. There's a little bit of mild sweetness to them. They don't taste bad at all. They're not sour, and certainly I'm not getting that rancid feeling in my throat. They feel like kind of a dense whole grain or coarsely ground grains biscuit or cracker. And you can kind of see the texture of the ground grains in there. And again, it's amazing. It's another 72-year-old item that seems to be perfectly edible. That's amazing. This container, you can tell, was very well sealed. It still had vacuum inside the can. There was no wear on the container or breaks or dents in the container itself. So it was stored in very good conditions through the decades. And when it comes to rations, that makes all the difference as far as preservation. So I would say this is an absolute success, and this is a remarkable ration for its age. And this thing would serve its purpose very well. It's very calorie dense, you can tell. There's not a listing of calories on there, but you can tell that the density of the tablets, there's a lot of substance to them. The sweetness of the chocolate would carry a lot of simple sugars and extra calories there. And then the biscuits probably contain a decent amount of fat and grains that would last a long time. That paired with it being very compact and fairly light makes this item ideal for survival situations. So again, thank you to Steve1989 for sending this to me. Absolutely remarkable ration. Please stay tuned for the other two rations will be released in series in pretty short succession. And as always, to the viewers and subscribers, thank you so much for supporting me and my channel, and your support directly benefits St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. So thanks again for that. To the ration review community on YouTube and MREinfo.com, thank you so much. Without your support, I couldn't do this. So I appreciate every one of you. So thanks again to everybody. Until next time, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.